Hoy, chummers! Just wanted to take a moment and let you know about our Patreon. While we release episodes of Shadowrunnin on Empty every single week, we actually have a backlog of about 4 episodes at any given time, just to give us a little cushion in case we can't record on our schedule for whatever reason. You know, like holidays or bug spirits. If you're interested in getting access to the episodes early, as well as a bunch of other benefits like artwork for the show, news on changes or rollouts, and sneak peeks at other things coming up, 5 new yen a month over on patreon.com/critical_hits gets you full access to all of the bells and whistles. You can even get a shout out for your support at the end of every single episode of Sinless as well. So if you enjoy the podcast and you'd like to support our work as well as get tons of bonus perks, that's the best way to do it. Thanks for your time, and let's get back to the show.
Hey chummers, So Easy Mode here. I've been a GM of various games for the past 25 years. I'll be the host of the podcast, bringing some much needed information about the shadows.
Hey, I'm Austin. I play Kaze in the Sinless game, and I am excited to learn more about the lore.
Hello everybody, I'm Tyler, aka Captain Cozy. I play Zero on the Shadowrun actual play series, Sinless. It's time to get our lore going.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Runnin' on Empty, the Shadowrun podcast where we fill your brain with Shadowrun lore. And today, we'll be talking about Dunkelzahn and his will.
The only topic that matters.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys are going to be super excited about this, especially coming off of talking about dragons.
Yep.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Right? So on the previous episode, we did get to dive into the great dragons of the Sixth World and who they are. In this episode, we'll be looking a little more closely at one of them, namely Dunkelzahn. Some of him call him Good Guy Dunkelzahn.
I think he called him Best Boy.
Oh, yeah, he called him Best Boy. The great dragon that managed to get elected president of the Yukos. Sadly, his achievement would not last. The dragon is assassinated the evening after his inauguration at 10:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Never forget.
Never forget. All right, guys, I have to give you your warning now. Fasten your tinfoil hats securely because we're getting ready to dive in.
Once again, got to reiterate, for legal reasons, I never take mine off. I'm on to you, mysterious forces.
Forces?
You're not coming from my brain, no sir.
Ain't gonna get a probe in there. No sir, no how.
Ain't no one probing me.
Ain't nobody
Nobody.
probing me. So, this unfortunate incident, known as the assassination of Dunkelzahn, occurred on his inauguration in 2057. And we'll actually get the rundown of events. I have them right here.
As in the play-by-play for his assassination, or?
I have it down to the whole time right here.
Oh man, we're getting that minute-by-minute breakdown.
Yeah, we're getting to timelines and stuff. Like, what is this?
Wow, what is this, dude?
So, August 9th of 2057, President Dunkelzahn and Vice President Kyle Hefner are formally sworn into office in Washington, FDC. The inauguration parties galore are held throughout the Washington FDC sprawl. At 10:23 and 8 seconds, we're getting into seconds here.
Wow.
Dunkelzahn is assassinated in the presidential limo as he leaves the Watergate Hotel.
Oh, of course it's the Watergate.
Of course.
Jesus.
At 10:24:57 seconds, an astral rift appears above the site of Dunkelzahn's death. At 10:28 and 1 second, FBI headquarters received the first of more than 500 claims of responsibility for the killing of Dunkelzahn from the terrorist group Red Dawn. FBI authorities label their claim a hoax because the caller refers to having fired the fatal bullet.
But it was a bomb.
Exactly. That's why they're not held to be real.
Bunch of big fat phonies.
Well, you want to claim that you've killed a dragon. Think of the clout.
Oh no, I understand
the
the
clout.
intention behind it. They're a bunch of big fat phonies.
Oh, yeah, they are. This claim sets the pattern. Most subsequent claims are equally obviously falsehoods. At 11:14 and 46 seconds, Tanya Riley, Yukos military mage, becomes the first casualty of the strange magical phenomena over the death site when her astral body is sucked into it during her investigation of the area from astral space.
Oh, God.
Whoops a daisy.
And this was from after his death? Or
From the
before?
Yeah,
got
that's
sucked into the
11:40,
portal.
11:14. Yeah, 11:14. Astral body gets sucked into the rift. She dies.
Yikes.
At 11:31 and 20 seconds, a section of public astral space near the site is blocked off as a hazard to anything in the astral plane. Government mages post astral warning signs.
What does that mean?
It's warning: do not enter the astral, or you're done, son.
Well, basically, in the astral space, they'll leave some kind of construct behind that warns people to stay away, or else they could risk being sucked into the astral tear.
You know, that seems like a solid warning.
Yeah, you would think that people would adhere to it as well.
And this is where you tell us that they don't.
Well, some people probably don't. I speculate to that. Or they think that,
They know
there'll
better.
be those mages that are, oh, I know better. I'm going to go talk to Dunkelzahn. I bet he just went through the rift really quick, and I'm dead.
I'm just gonna go say, hey, I'll be right back, guys. Oh no.
Never comes back ever again. On August 10th at 2:30 in the morning, the next day, the Vice President Kyle Hefner is sworn in as President of the Yukos.
Oh, Kyle.
President Kyle.
President Kyle.
What a name.
The job that he was never prepared for. They never thought that they'd actually give it to him.
He had to be somewhat prepared for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Dunkelzahn appointed him as his
Dude,
running
listen,
mate, right?
listen. If you're appointed the running mate of a dragon who's running for president, at this point in the Sixth World, you have to just assume that you never have to worry about having to be president due to assassination. Like, come on, dude.
Until now.
Until that
now.
happens, yeah. Like, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, Kyle wasn't ready for this shit. He didn't sign up for this. He thought he was just gonna have a cushy 8 years being
The world
second in
wasn't
command.
ready.
Sorry, I'm upset, okay? I'm upset.
Feel it.
And I feel bad for Kyle.
Of course.
Do we know why Dunkelzahn picked Kyle to be his running mate? Is there
The
like
chosen one.
any actual like backstory with the two of them, or
Let me check for you. Give me just a
because
second.
I like to think that he's just a guy.
He's just some dude that won the lucky lottery.
Yeah.
You, Kyle, you will serve me as my running mate.
Kyle, you have been chosen.
Kyle, that sounds like a vice president's name.
The great and magnanimous Kyle.
I don't know about magnanimous.
I don't know
He
about
was trying to
great.
gas him up. He was gassing him up so that, he didn't feel overshadowed. Even though very obviously did.
I think he's the mediocrely timid. Kyle is more of a.
That's just a given. Sorry, Kyle's out there.
No, we're not. Let's be
Sorry that your name sucks.
Yo!
Woo! Oh, wow.
Good news, all the Kyles listening, you can legally change that lame name. And nobody's gonna stop you.
Oh.
If anything, they'll high-five you when you do. Because you're no longer a Kyle.
Wee.
How will you then drink Monster energy drinks and punch holes in
P.O.D. You and me. P.O.D. You and me.
So, there's nothing really about Kyle Hefner that I can see other than before he was vice president and chosen as Dunkelzahn's running mate, he was a lawyer from Boston.
Oh, he's fucking Kyle. Fucking Kyle.
Fucking Kyle.
Moving up to the White House. Gonna have some beers with the president. I don't know what this Boston accent is.
Is he Australian?
Yeah, dude, my Boston accent is non-existent.
Yeah, it's like, is
it's
that
Boston down under.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Transformers.
What is Boston but the Australia of the United States? Let's be fair.
Transformers.
Transformers.
They're more than meets the eye.
More than meets the eye.
Gotta watch out for those dropper bots, you know.
Koalatron, I'm coming for you.
Kangaroo Prime. We gotta get the old spark.
Kangarootimus.
Come join us in the future when we explore an all-Australian Transformer.
More than meets the eye.
But Soundwave, I throw you and you always return.
Bumblebee. Okay, all right.
Okay. We're going off on a big tangent. Anyway. So Kyle, the vice president, is sworn in the next day.
Dear sweet Kyle.
Pure Kyle.
Dear sweet Kyle. He does go to chief justice.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Justice Scott is who he turns to.
Kyle's best friend, Scott. Yeah.
Right.
That checks out.
And from this happens in September of 2057. The Scott Commission is put into effect, and they are charged with investigating the assassination of Dunkelzahn to get to the bottom of who is responsible. It's just like the Watergate Commission.
Yep,
Coincidence?
Yep, similar location, some would say. You know, always causes fucking trouble for the government.
And of course, their first interview is with Vice President Kyle Hefner.
Of course.
Who they find had nothing to do with the assassination.
Who they found to be barely a person. Just kind of exists. The official report read.
Well, they start the investigations in... Well, the Scott Commission is started in September, right? It's not till November that they publish their first official statement that clears President Kyle Hefner of any involvement in the assassination of President Dunkelzahn.
Well, you got to be thorough, you know?
The next person that the Scott Commission goes after to investigate, that calls in, is Dunkelzahn's right-hand woman, one Nadja. How do you say her last name? Nadja DeVere.
And she's the one who becomes the head of the foundation, right?
Draco
the
Foundation.
Draco Foundation.
Yes.
Okay.
So apparently Dunkelzahn had prepared for his demise ahead of time. He was known to look ahead for the long game, you know. His will was read about 6 days after his death.
Give the nation time to mourn.
The will has many bequeathments to many different people in it. The will also sets up the Draco Foundation, which Nadja is appointed as the CEO of. and she's able to put together her own board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be going over some more interesting aspects of the will towards the end of the podcast. We'll get some of the assassination plots and the backstory and everything out of the way first, and then we'll dive into some of those juicy tidbits from the will. I promise there's lots of interesting things in there.
I believe it. I feel it already.
So from the aspect of the news, there are 5 known facts about the assassination. Fact number 1. Dunkelzahn unexpectedly left a scheduled inaugural event at the Watergate Hotel, departing 21 minutes earlier than his staff had originally planned. Fact number 2. Dunkelzahn received a phone call immediately before he left the Watergate. Fact number 3. As his limousine drove away from the hotel, a device apparently buried under the street exploded.
Oh.
Like,
Fact.
oh, sorry, no,
Like,
go on.
no, go ahead.
I was just,
like what?
I was just gonna say, like, where they were.
So the limousine makes it about 50 yards away from the Watergate, and then
Oh, and then explodes.
kaboom.
Oh. Okay, continue.
Fact number 4. The explosion destroyed the limousine, along with the security personnel escorting the vehicle. Their bodies were recovered. However, no trace of Dunkelzahn's body or the driver's body has yet turned up.
Oh.
Who was the driver?
Indeed, who was the
Oh,
driver?
shit.
Fact number 5.
Kyle?
Fact number 5. Above the site of the explosion, there has appeared a mysterious magical phenomenon that has so far resisted all attempts at definition or analysis, and this is referring to the astral rift.
Have they tried negotiating with it?
From my experience, you don't negotiate with astral rifts.
It's a policy.
It's a good policy to have.
It really is. So those are like the circumstances to Dunkelzahn's assassination. Was that
Those are the 5 known facts.
the 5?
There are
Okay.
there are eyewitness reports as well. I have a couple picked out here. First off, there's this ex-military guy that happened to be in the area who's
Wait, sorry,
homeless.
real quick, before we get into the eyewitness reports, I just realized something, and I have a question. How big was the car that Dunkelzahn was in that they blew up? Or was he not in dragon form?
He was not in dragon form.
Okay. I was sitting here thinking about that.
Limousine.
And I remembered you said in the last episode that most of the time Dunkelzahn was not in human form, he'd be in dragon form. And I was like, is he just sitting in a car being driven around as a big fuck off dragon? Like, not.
Well, remember, like I said, when he goes to events and things,
Right.
he usually adopts a human form.
Right.
Because it's just easier to travel.
Right.
And in this, he was.
Okay.
I mean, to be in the Watergate
Yeah.
and doing
Yeah, I
his
guess that's
celebration.
fair. I don't know. Maybe like that. Maybe they put him in the ballroom or something. I don't know. Maybe he could fit.
No, he was in his human form.
Okay. All right. So we have ex-military.
But when they did the inauguration, he was in his dragon form.
Well, of course, he had to put his hand on his giant golden horde and swear to uphold the office.
Swear.
Yeah. I would be interested in that, actually. Is there any note of, like, what Dunkelzahn swore into office on? Because there's, like, the whole thing where it's, like, it's traditionally, like, the Lincoln Bible, but, like, you can, when you're sworn in to be president, you can do it on anything. It doesn't have to be a Bible. And I feel like a dragon being sworn in as the first dragon president probably wouldn't use a Bible to be sworn in on Inauguration Day. I could be wrong. I don't know Dunkelzahn's, religious affiliation, but...
it doesn't say.
Damn.
It just says he did the inauguration. So
All right, if we ever get to the point where we can ask the writers of Shadowrun a question, that's what I want to know.
Oh, well, we would have to go back to the old FASFA writers.
That's fine.
So,
That's fine. We'll track him down.
That's some reach back.
The truth. We will find it. It is out there.
Well, I don't know. I'll have to see if this writer's still alive.
Okay.
That's step one.
Let me check on that.
Has someone like cut off that loose end? They know too much.
They don't want us to know. We're getting too close to the answers.
The mysterious forces, they do exist. I knew it.
Possibly.
I'll take it.
So it sounds like it's kind of up in the air if Dunkelzahn is actually dead, or am I misreading that?
No, yeah, he's dead. Finger quotes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, for sure.
But he could still be out there.
So the writer of this book, the Dunkelzahn Secrets, is still around.
Woo! Let's go.
We will.
So we could potentially reach out to him and find out.
Oh, I really want to know. I would actually be super interested in that. I think that would be really cool.
I will try and shoot out a message.
Sick.
And ask and see if I can get a response.
Hell yeah.
What's their
Awesome.
name?
His name is Steve Kenson.
Hey, Steve. I know you're a fan of this podcast, I'm sure, because we're spouting nothing but truth here. Thanks in advance if you give us the lowdown throwdown.
I would be super impressed.
I believe.
I want to believe.
Shadowrun has made me believe in a lot of things I was not prepared for. Here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah, there were 4 writers for this specific book. And his name is on the front cover. So, we can reach out to any one of them probably and see if I can get a response.
Hell yeah.
Oh boy.
Talk about a blast from their past, right?
That would be great. I would be so stoked.
Well, I will try and do it.
Look at this guy.
And I'll be sure to let everybody know what the results are.
Hell yeah. What
Yeah.
a champion.
Hey, doing it for the viewers, right? We're here for the lore.
We are
want to know.
the voice of the people. They want to know.
They want to know. So, our first eyewitness account comes from an ex-military guy who participated in the Desert Wars. That's his background.
Okay.
And he just happened to be in the area at the time of the explosion. So I'm going to read it exactly as they wrote it here.
Go for it.
When he's doing this interview. No, chum, that ain't right. I'm telling you. I saw it. The bomb blew the car about 100 feet in the air, and it took all the wheels off, but it come tumbling back down, and it hit the ground still in one piece. I told you it was armored up real good, remember? Anyways, it hit the ground, and it took a bounce back up in the air about 10 feet, and that's where the weird stuff happened. Better believe it, chum. There wasn't no blast from no first bomb, and I seed it clear as day. As I sees it, there's a chunk of must have been another bomb inside the fragging car. Opened it up purty as you want. Was all a big black blob come rolling out with all these big old worms squirming round inside it. Then the limo blowed all to shreds all round it. Then it was just zoop, and it was gone. That is the first account.
That is wild.
I mean, he paints a pretty harrowing picture.
Quite.
Right? So clearly the limo was heavily armored.
And he says that all the wheels came off when it exploded.
He's saying that the explosion that came from the ground lifted the car up
okay.
off the ground and blew the wheels off.
Yes.
But then there was a second explosion.
In the car.
Yes, coming from inside the car.
Wow. Okay. And then it landed. And I think he said it was in one piece.
It was all twisted.
Oh, by that
and
point, by
ripped
the
to
second
shreds.
one. Yeah, by the second
Yeah, the first one, it landed in one piece just with the wheels blown off.
Oh.
The second one is where the weird stuff happened.
That was the double tap. That was where there was a blob?
Yes, he says, quote, this big black blob come rolling out with these big old worms squirming round inside it.
What is that about?
That sounds like evil shadow badness to me.
Then the limo blowed all to shreds all round, and it was just went zoop.
I hate it when things go
and was
zoop.
gone.
Yeah.
You really hate it when things go zoop. The zoop is probably where the astral tear opens and it sucks the wreckage
I'm
inside.
very anti-Zoop. Just want to put that on the record.
But I think that's what that is where the astral tear opens and they don't have any remnants of the car because it gets sucked into the astral tear.
Oh, okay. That black blob raises a bunch of questions.
A bunch of questions, right?
Yeah, a bunch of crunch of questions.
Because the other thing is a forensics team was on site, a high-grade professional forensics team was on site just hours after the explosion.
Right.
And they said that the blast site, there were very little remains.
Man, something don't add
They
up.
find the security team. The security team is blown all around the area, right? They find the security team's bodies and the destroyed cars for the escort, but the limo itself is just gone. And that's why there's no body.
Interesting. Very convenient, though, but not in a bad way
Right?
necessarily. It's just like, okay. And you said that was one of the testimonies? Were there other ones?
Yeah, that was one of the testimonies to come forward. There's another one from a... I think a lot of people would consider this next one straight up conspiracy level.
Oh, go for it.
But they come in through discrete channels to this interviewer who's trying to put together this report on Dunkelzahn's assassination. And he has this lovely tidbit to add. And once again, I will read it exactly as written. I don't want to get too technical, but have you ever heard of a self-forging fragment? I'll keep it as simple as I can. A self-forging fragment is part of an explosive warhead that is designed to ride the shockwave of the blast created by the warhead's detonation. It is accelerated to a high velocity equal to the detonation velocity of the explosive used. Say, about 10 times greater than the velocity of a rifle bullet. Self-forging fragments are ideal for penetrating thick armor. They can be precisely aimed to destroy targets at long ranges. They are well-established, time-tested technology, unlikely to go unexpectedly wrong. So, we have a self-forging fragment. Are you with me so far? Good. Everyone knows, of course, that magic can be used to generate explosions. And then they go on to say that they believe that magic was also involved with this technological weapon, and the assassins would have used something called a cascading spell fragmentation.
Interesting.
So they theorize that both a physical and magical aspect were involved in the assassination.
I'd believe it.
Yeah, that makes sense. You gotta cover your bases, really. You're trying to assassinate a dragon.
The other weird thing to keep the tinfoil hats involved,
I never take them off.
there is no footage of the explosion. None.
Interesting.
Dude.
You would think from an inauguration party that there would be news
It's
crews
a
everywhere,
historic moment.
right? Of course, a lot of those news crews could have been inside trying to catch snippets. Because remember, one of the facts was he's leaving 21 minutes ahead of schedule.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And the media would have had an idea when he was leaving to, like, see him in his motorcade, I'm sure.
Right? Especially if he's trying to leave discreetly.
Yeah. Not the most discreet exit, I gotta say.
But someone had to know.
Someone had to know.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And he had just gotten off a phone call. I continue
Yes.
to express that nothing good comes from phones in the Sixth World. Can't trust him.
Of course, fingers were immediately pointed at the other people that were running for the presidency at this time.
Mm-hmm.
There were 5 other candidates other than Dunkelzahn.
Okay.
But none of them were dragons, so fuck 'em. Who needs 'em?
Needs 'em.
I do have their names if you are interested.
Like, honest question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, like, reason...
Significance?
Significance to them? Do any of them come back up? Do any of them
some
play
of them-
any role going forward?
Some of them do.
Okay. All right, then hit me with it. What do you got?
Like Arthur Vogel.
That sounds like a
That is a super villain name if I've ever heard one. Vogel Industries. Vogel Tech. There's just... Yeah. Wait, one more thing. What's his name again?
Arthur Vogel.
Arthur Vogel. Yep. If you say it in a villain voice, it sounds evil, so it passes. Solved it.
Problem solved.
You're going down, Vogel. We know what you've done.
Vogel, you sick fuck.
We know what you did.
We know what you did.
So Arthur Vogel is actually a renowned dwarven environmentalist.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, you should have told us. You should have led with that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. He is famous for running for the Democratic Party in the UCOS presidential election of 2057. He also owns a substantial amount of stock in Ares. And has a board seat on the mega corporation.
Okay,
Ares aren't the ones who are invested in environmentalism.
No. Ares are the ironmonger warmongers.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense. The Walmart of the Sixth World. As we've established.
But he will come back up pretty soon, actually. Hintity hint hint, he's actually mentioned in the will.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Foreshadowing for this own podcast.
Whoa. So immersive. Okay, cool. So that's one of the people there are the opposing party.
He was running against Dunkelzahn for the presidency.
Gotcha.
Then there is Dr. Roslyn Hernandez.
Also ran against Dunkelzahn?
Also ran against Dunkelzahn for the New Century Party.
Hell is that?
Their campaign motto is Our Magical Futures. The New Century Party is a loose coalition of dissatisfied technocrats who jumped ship in the wake of the rigged election scandal, and a number of hip postmodern, highly educated hermetic mages.
Hip post-modern education?
Uh-huh. Yes.
What is that combination of words?
That is a really good question.
It just sounds like they were saying that they were highfalutin hipsters.
Yeah. Educated hipsters that
Post?
know magic.
Modern? Okay. Gotcha.
So the party's basic ideology calls for a melding of scientific and magical principles to create a happier and more prosperous society. So since they are such a magically inclined political group, fingers are immediately pointed in that direction.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. Until we hear about our next candidate.
Look at this guy.
Our next candidate is one James Booth.
You're like any relation?
Seems kind of ominous, doesn't it?
Does he have a middle name? I don't know, like James Wilk Booth?
Nope, just James Booth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, right before the explosion was heard underneath the car, you could hear somebody yelling out "Six Semper Draconis," and
Six Semper Draconis. The campaign motto for James Booth was "The status quo."
Ugh. Okay.
that's awful. Fuck this guy. All right, who's next?
All right. James Booth, dude. Dude, that guy I don't know if the people at home are going to see the pictures that you sent us, but the one with all the hoods, not be surprised if James Booth was part of these meetings.
Is that James Booth? Is that
Well, this James Booth that we're talking about, he is actually the former vice president of the Steele administration that was recently removed from office for the rigged election.
Yeah, the status quo, huh? Maybe not the best campaign slogan when you're associated with a politician who's been removed from office for rigging elections. I don't know. I could be nuts. Who's to say? But that's just me.
Yeah, he was not well liked, obviously.
Shock. Oh, man.
I know, right? Who would have thought that a guy that was involved in a former scandal trying to run in the next election would not be trustworthy?
Yeah, dude. I don't know, man. There's a lot of just shifty characters. I'm over here building up a dossier in my head so we could solve this murder.
Start connecting the strings, big guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The next candidate that we have is Anne Penchek. Now, Anne didn't start on the campaign trail. She was the running mate for General Franklin Yates, who was running. And she took his place after he was assassinated in a Chicago hotel room by a wasp insect spirit.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say by like a wasp militia organization or something, and that was
no, worse.
that's, you know what? Few things would be, but I think a wasp insect spirit takes the cake. I will agree with you on that one.
So she ran and actually was the only one that kind of gave Dunkelzahn a run for his money in the election. She was running on the Republican ticket. Would you like to know the super fun fact about her?
Always.
She's also an insect spirit.
Oh,
You're kidding me.
No.
You're lying. You're making this up. What does that mean?
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew that she was an
she's been
insect.
possessed by an insect spirit. Yeah, that's
Yeah, she was possessed and nobody knew.
That is so horrifying. That's not fun at all, Easy.
When your running mate is killed by a wasp spirit,
Oh no.
you have to think that your party has been infiltrated at that point.
Oh no, dude. That is a special kind of horror that I am not.
Right?
Nope, not a fan.
Could you imagine if she would have won?
Oh no. Everyone gets a bug spirit.
Suddenly, Universal Brotherhood is making a comeback.
Oh no.
The Universal Brotherhood replaces Nidoron and Lone Star as the official police force of the cause in Utah.
Sudden disappearances start happening around the nation.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh no. The Universal security force or whatever, they're just abducting people and no, there's an alternate reality of the sixth world that is somehow,
that I don't want.
Somehow more of a nightmare than what we've already experienced. Whew. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That is not where I thought we were going tonight.
But yeah. And then finally, the final candidate that was running is one Kenneth Brockhaven.
I didn't vote for him.
He is running under the Arch Conservative Party.
Oh, it's like another splinter of conservatives. It's a lot of I will say there are a lot of running political parties.
Well, a lot of these people that ran the first three, Arthur Vogel, Dr. Hernandez, and James Booth, are all humans. Anne Penchek is actually a troll. Who's actually a insect spirit.
God damn it! Why are they all insect spirits?
No, was this the same one?
Yeah, that was the same one. Anne.
Oh, okay.
Anne Penchek.
Yeah, for a second I was like, oh,
looks like a troll, is actually an insect spirit. And then this last one, Kenneth Brockhaven, he actually goblinized into an orc in 2023.
Good for him, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, surviving through goblinization was a very painful endeavor.
truth.
Yeah. However, he does have one thing that kind of not so good. Kenneth's uncle, Carl Brockhaven, is the head of the Seattle chapter of the Humanist Poly Club.
Oh, there it is. And there it is.
And there it is.
And now we should be seeing that picture on the pod. I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is Humanus in the picture.
You know what? Nobody knows. We'll get to that.
Okay.
I promise we'll get to that.
Okay,
It's in the will.
okay.
I promise.
Oh, that's
It's
in
there.
the
It's
will.
there.
Okay, great. All right.
It's in the will. Yep. Yeah. So there are whispered connections for him to Humanist Poly Club. Some people don't believe it though because he's an orc. You know.
Yeah, that'd be kind of hard.
It'd be kind of hard to.
Unless it was like the Dave Chappelle sketch.
Oh yeah, that's
and he's
true.
under Humanist hoodie that is very large.
So yeah, those are the other suspects in the assassination of Dunkelzahn. Obviously, the running mates. Surprisingly, no fingers are pointed at any other great dragon.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
I mean, it kind of feels
That's
like
one thing I don't know, but
it kind of feels like we only had like the one real infight scenario with the great dragons. Outside of that, it kind of just feels like all of the other great dragons just want to exist.
There are like territorial disputes.
there are some territorial disputes, but a lot of the great dragons of the time, are around this time of 2057 that we're dealing with, respected Dunkelzahn.
Interesting.
Everybody respected Dunkelzahn.
So-
I'm just throwing that out there.
So to think that one of them would have had
The balls.
The gall.
The balls. The absolute
The
cojones.
scales.
the absolute reptilian scales to try and kill him seems far-fetched. I mean, obviously that theory is put to the test in 2070 with the civil war between Lothwir and his brother Amanus that we just talked
Well,
about.
right,
on
but
the
that's what
last
I was saying. Is
episode.
it's like it seems like that's kind of the only like significant feud, and that is more like he hates him because he's his brother, and that's kind of what it comes down to. But like from a realistic standpoint, all of the dragons should have loved Dunkelzahn because he was making it to where people weren't gonna fuck with dragons, like in the grand scheme of things. If people just
Right.
go, well, Dunkelzahn's cool, the rest of the dragons are probably cool too, right? Like, there's no reason for any of them to try to take him out. They're just making, if anything, he's just making all of their lives easier.
right?
Yeah.
So there is something else that's interesting that comes from the death of Dunkelzahn, and this hits the shadow community really hard. There starts to be a number of assassinations that happen in the shadows to different Shadowrunners, and when it's looked into, some of these connections are traced back to Dunkelzahn.
Oh, interesting.
Like they had dealings with Dunkelzahn.
Hmm.
As the shadow community kind of coalesces these outliers and starts to put the puzzle pieces together, it paints this picture that while Dunkelzahn had a very public, forward-facing
Reputation.
agenda
Yeah.
and reputation, he also, over the years, had built up his own shadow network.
I believe it.
Like, full of skilled runners and fixers and fences and faces, like an entire network that was interconnected in the shadow community that he was able to pull the strings of sometimes, and no one would be the wiser.
So it's like I mean, you could interpret it as someone's cleaning up.
What probably happened is that without Dunkelzahn there to fill the power seat, and with the foresight of a dragon,
Mm-hmm.
these other players that were coming into the know of this vacated seat of power just start infighting. But no one person is able to get a handle on the full network just because they don't have that same influence.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah,
But I thought that was an interesting thing. Is like you have this very public figure, but he has such heavy connections to the shadows.
yeah, that's kind of. I mean, like, my conspirator brain never stops. So part of me is like, what if Dunkelzahn was now? Forgive the heresy here, but what if Dunkelzahn was not, in fact, on the up and up? And this could have been a means of like keeping his connections silenced for anyone who could trade. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this could have gone.
So we see you can just cut his mic right now. You can just me and you have the rest of this episode covered. I think it'll be all right.
Wow.
I will not
Trying
be
to put out
silenced.
this conspiracy. Yeah, trying to put out those conspiracy theories and being silenced.
That's what we come to this podcast for.
The status quo.
That is.
Oh no. Are you a boothy, dude?
No. Are you running on the booth ticket?
We like to call ourselves Boothy Boys. Thank you very much.
Now we've talked about the assassination and some of the major players that are involved in it. What do you guys think? Who do you think did it?
Oh snap. Austin?
You do have a lot to choose from.
We do. That's very true. I don't know, man. Okay. If we're going full tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, also because I've recently caught up on reading the manga for One Punch Man, I am wondering if Dunkelzahn blew up Dunkelzahn in order to launch himself into the negative dimension to combat the evil entity forces, like, by himself, to basically hold them at bay. And that the portal was a side effect of him tearing a hole within space-time in order to travel to said dimension.
Okay.
That's my theory.
Okay.
But that's after he got elected?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because he still would have wanted to do everything that he did in order to legitimize himself, and again, for the greater good of dragons, and legitimizing them as people that could be beneficial and helpful to humanity rather than to be entities to be feared, knowing that if he failed to defeat the evil spirits, the dragons are probably going to have to be the first line of defense should they come into the sixth world.
And this is going on. Okay, so the idea here is that he needed to fend off the darkness. He ran for president only to blow himself up.
And the explosion was basically the way in which he tore the rift into the shadow dimension to travel there in order to fight the evil entities. Yes. It's for people that have read the One Punch Man manga, it's the same thing that happened with Bang. That is my theory.
Spoilers?
Sure. It's non-contextual spoilers, but sure.
Sure.
Fair enough. Tyler, thoughts?
So there's a couple different routes you could take with this. Let me see. I do find the idea that it was like a cover-up to be pretty convenient. But also I could see it being like not exactly in Austin's like wheelhouse here, but in regards to, I mean, for lack of a better term, like he kind of martyred himself. You know, he was made a martyr at that point by dying. Though we don't see what happened. And also, I don't see it being. I could see. Okay. Tinfoil of the shiniest, chromiest tinfoil hat here.
Of course.
I can see Dunkelzahn being the kind of guy that would kill thousands to save millions. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
And I could see it as like, this is just part of the plan, and this was a step to it. Now, I have nothing to go off of except the context you've given. But
right.
If I'm thinking about someone else who could have done something, I don't know, man. Like, just knowing how much of a force Dunkelzahn was, I can't imagine him being caught off guard and being killed by a bomb. 2 bombs, even. So, I don't know. I still feel like he's out there.
That's fair. Well, like I said, this is a lore podcast.
Hang on. So, Easy, what's your theory?
Oh, man. Okay, so you want my theory before I knew the truth?
Okay. Wait, we already know the truth?
I have the answer.
Oh.
I have the answer.
Okay.
Beforehand, I was leaning towards that he was actually assassinated by a joined group of interested parties.
Okay.
I originally believed that it was enemies that he had made along the way, right?
Yeah.
And the backing of a mega corporation like Atzlan.
Okay. Yeah.
To pull off this assassination.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. That is what I originally thought.
Okay.
However, on this podcast, we bring you all the lore, which will include the truth. So while we have put all of these ideas forward on what we think the possibility is of the assassination, you'll be extremely surprised to know that the winner for tonight in their theory is Austin.
Woo! The greater good, baby. Let's go.
It is ridiculous how close you are in what actually happened. Tyler, I know that probably disappoints you a little.
Dig it!
On several levels.
Revel in it.
So if you really want the official story, there is a 3-novel series that covers it.
Okay.
Called the Dragonheart Trilogy.
Oh, that's so good.
Very good.
So in this trilogy, it's confirmed that Dunkelzahn was not actually assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
He chooses to sacrifice himself to power this super powerful focus called the Dragonheart.
Okay.
The Dragonheart is this power focus made out of pure orichalcum, which is the magical metal.
Uh-huh.
And it's the size of a dragon heart.
Sick. Okay.
So he sacrifices himself to power it because there's not enough magic currently in the world to power it up, right? In doing so, it destroys his physical body.
Okay.
His spirit, however, escapes.
Into the
astral
into
plane.
the astral. Yep.
Mm-hmm. The spirit actually becomes a free spirit.
Oh shit. Okay.
He becomes a free spirit named Lehi.
Okay.
Right? Now this is where it gets really weird.
Oh, I'm down for it.
So he becomes the free spirit. The free spirit ends up possessing a cyber zombie named Billy, aka Burnout, and he goes on to guard a metaplanar gate that divides our world from that of the horrors.
Oh my god. That's there's no way that I could have literally guessed the second half of this story, and I love everything about it. That is fantastic.
It's completely ridiculous.
That's so nuts. Oh.
So yes, good guy Dunkelzahn to the bitter end.
Best guy Dunkelzahn. To this day, some would argue.
Wow. Still guarding the portal.
That's dope.
That's amazing.
Right? I couldn't have even predicted that was the way it was going to go. It was completely out of left field for me when I heard about it.
I'll take a 50% victory. All right, I will absolutely take that.
Honestly, when you started describing it, I was like, this is really close. Wow. But now we come to probably the most anticipated part of this podcast, where we actually get to dive into his will and hear about some of the things that he left for people, because I think it's super interesting.
I'm very interested in what and who Dunkelzahn deemed worthy of will recognition.
So first off, in the will, the first thing it does is creates the Draco Foundation, which basically is put in place to be the executor of this will.
Right. So is the Draco Foundation like put into existence until everything in the will is completed? Like, is this going to be like a multi-century foundation, just dependent on how long it takes, you know?
Well, to put that into perspective, the Draco Foundation is still around well into 5th edition.
And this was... Sorry, when was Dunkelzahn assassinated?
2057.
So we're like 30 years in on Draco Foundation. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, yeah.
So, yes, they're around for quite some time.
Okay.
So, here is my first favorite one. After much research and hundreds of bags of burned nuke and pop, I leave 20 million new yen to the holder of the patent for the 20th century process that produced popcorn capable of being popped over an open flame. I believe it was called Speedy Pop or Quick Pop or something similar. The patent holder must use this money to renew the patent and resume production.
Oh my god.
Dunkelzahn just loved Jiffy Pop. I love it. That's so good.
When you're a dragon that can breathe fire,
yeah,
right?
it's very convenient. No, I get it. I'm down with it. That is like the most on the go snack you could possibly get.
Right? Next, I offer ownership of the first key of power to the government of either Tir Tangari or Tir Nanog, whichever nation first publicly discloses the complete personal histories of all of its high government officials. This disclosure must be supervised by the Draco Foundation in accordance with my instructions.
Oh my god. So wait, what is a key of power?
It's a strong magical artifact from the 4th Age.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can find something else about it. The fun part about that is he's offering it to either of the Tier Empire or Tier nations, which are the elves, right?
Yeah. But only if they fully disclose the entire histories and information of all of their leading officials. That's a politician's nightmare right there. That is the
Well, it's to prove that the elves have been around for a lot longer than what they claim. People think elves started just coming back around when
but
they were starting to be born again.
But the elves have been in hiding,
but the leaders,
right?
But the leaders of Tir Tangari and Tir Nanog have been around for a lot longer.
So if they get ousted as, say, controlling the status quo of humanity over the past couple of centuries from the shadows while being around, that might make some people upset. That's interesting. I didn't even think about it. Yeah, that's actually fascinating. I didn't even consider that. Man. Dunkelzahn just out here looking out for the people.
The shape of the key is unknown. However, its power is to act as an additional member of a ritual spellcasting when bound to the leader of the ritual. So it's like if you're casting a ritual spell and you have the first key of power, it's like 2 people are working on the spell.
Oh, wow.
Oh, of the same strength as well, I assume, right? So it would be like
probably of the strength of the key itself.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
In 2061, the Unseelie court tried to obtain the key by publishing an unauthorized biography, but their claim was denied.
Because it has to be like approved and overseen, right? So by doing an unauthorized biography, that goes against the demands of it. That's awesome.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
People have speculated that the first key of power was an Earth Dawn artifact. And the speculation from people that are into Shadowrun and Earth Dawn, some people are saying it could be a key to the heart of heroes, is what it could have referred to from Earth Dawn. I'm not sure. I don't know Earth Dawn lore as well as Shadowrun lore.
Connected, man.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm letting you down.
No. There's a lot.
But that goes to also show that this has carried over for so long.
Right.
That it's still there and nobody's claimed it.
Those elves, man, you know?
Status quo.
Right? The next one. In order to reduce the number of innocent bystanders who die each day as a result of security officers firing on criminals, I leave a 5-pound brick of orichalcum to either Lone Star or Knight Errant, whichever first develops an inexpensive, effective, non-lethal stun technology accurate to 100 meters.
Oh my God.
So specific.
That's so good. And I'm assuming that, as with most fantasy worlds, orichalcum is like the rarest, most like sought after material, like fantasy material. Yeah.
Yeah, orichalcum is magical metal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 5 pounds of orichalcum is significant.
Whew.
Yeah.
Is worth millions of new yen.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
To put it into perspective.
Gotcha. That's fantastic. Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't blame. I agree with him on that one.
Mm-hmm.
You get to work. Lone Star.
To Newsnet, I leave 2 million new yen for an investigation into the circumstances of my death and the production of a comprehensive documentary on the events surrounding my demise.
Oh, that's so good.
He's a showman.
He's just
to the bitter end, he's a showman.
But also, like, he's feeding like his death conspiracies in order to keep people from finding out what he actually did. That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I have a question then. In regards to the like him coming back as a free spirit and inhabiting cyber zombie body and is now like gate guardian man, does anybody know that in the world? Is there anybody that knows that he is the spirit of Dunkelzahn still?
So there could be a few key players that would know, but to the greater world, Dunkelzahn is gone.
Right. Okay. But anybody that would know are people that would keep it like a secret or would not want it exposed. Interesting. Okay. That's a cool one. I like that one though.
Mm-hmm. Next we have to Athene Oak Forest. I leave the rose crystal in hopes of soothing old wounds and healing the rifts they have caused.
Oh, that's nice.
Is she a member of either of the tiers?
She is one of the founders of Tier Tungri.
Ha! Called it. Which is the Ireland one, right?
No, Tier Nanoga is the Ireland one. Tier Tungri is the Portland one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And one of the original 3 members of the Council of Princes.
Oh, okay. What is the crystal that he?
It's him, Athene.
It's what?
It's a him.
Oh,
It's the elf is a him.
Oh, sorry, him. Sorry.
the rose crystal.
Uh-huh.
The rose crystal
I'm assuming it's probably some other like
Ancient
artifact of power for something in some space or capacity. Leave it to dragons to have a bunch of these ancient artifacts just laying around, collecting dust until they die.
So the rose crystal is a draconic memory gem.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a what's the is it the Palantir in Harry Potter, the thing that Dumbledore puts his memories in?
Kind of.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Palantir is the orb from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Palantir is from... Well, the Palanthea was from Harry Potter, right?
I don't remember that.
And Palantir was from Lord of the Rings as the scene. Push my glasses up on my nose. Actually...
Please do. The pensive is the Harry Potter memory pool.
There we go. Yeah. Yes.
The pensive. Okay, so so is it like that, but it's his memories, I'm assuming, like in the crystal that you can access via magic to look at memories?
It's important. It's important to the Elven court, and this again stretches all the way back to Earth Dawn for the Fourth Age.
Okay, but do we not know what the actual significance of it is? Like in terms of just not knowing the Earth Dawn lore? Because that's fine. That's fine if that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just says it's a memory gem. From the information I'm able to dig up on it, during the Second Theron War in Earth Dawn, a band of adepts were sent to recover the rose crystal from the Therans, and they sneak into a place called the Bloodwood.
Sick.
Nice.
And exchange the rose crystal for the ever-living flower. This trade of artifacts is part of an ancient ritual familiar to both the elders of Thera and the Elven court.
Interesting.
Man, some deep lore.
So I'm assuming that the reason that he gave it back is probably because that elf was involved with the exchange that needed to happen and is hoping that giving it back is like a sign of goodwill. Elves don't hate each other, move on from there. Yeah, I don't...
Kinda. When it was bequeathed in the will, it's speculated that perhaps it was as an apology for the Bloodwood or the actions of the great dragons during that time.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it could have been as an apology.
Gotcha.
That's what it sounded like.
Moving right along in the will, to the first party that develops a species of plant hardy enough to flourish in and eventually clean the smog-choked atmosphere of such cities as Tenoctalen, I leave 20 million new yen.
Makes sense.
Clean up that pollution.
Clean that pollution. Make trees that eat pollution. There you go.
This one is kind of funny. Remember how we mentioned Almanis last episode in the Dragons?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lofweir's brother and how he's a real piece of work.
Yep.
Dunkelzahn left something for him in his will. To Almanis, I leave the fruitcake we have exchanged every Christmas since 2020.
Oh.
Unlike you, I'm really dead.
Oh.
Oh.
Wow.
Got him.
What a sassy dragon.
So sass.
So
Love
fantastic.
So does that mean
right?
that he faked his death then?
Well, this is back in 2057. So Almanis may have faked his death to try to appear dead to the world, and then comes back later and commits those atrocities.
Ah, okay. So was this...
But this was more of a jab to be like, hey, you're still around and now people know it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so was this him more ousting the fact that he had faked his death? And okay, cool.
And remember we had talked about Ryumio,
Yes.
right? Well, here's the entry for Ryumio. To Ryumio, the first of our kind to be seen in this modern age, I leave my envy at stealing my chance to be the very first dragon, as well as the ring of Ouroboros, since it is the early bird who catches the worm. And he made sure to spell worm in
WYRM.
the will. WYRM.
Fantastic.
Very good.
If anything, you can see Dunkelzahn clearly not averse to jokes.
Very
and puns.
dry.
My saucy boy.
His dry British humor.
I love it. I love it. I like to imagine that Dunkelzahn sounded like Stephen Fry. That's just my headcanon.
Oh man, that would be hilarious. Now we get into some more serious things that he left in his will. And this could be showing more of his foresight. I leave 1 million new yen to any group or individual who ensures the safe return of Mary Beth Tyree to her home. Mary Beth was kidnapped April 30th, 2051, just after her 6th birthday. She was last seen in Roanoke, Virginia. Her survival is critical.
Oh my god. Well, that's not ominous at all.
Yeah, but 1 million new yen price?
Yeah. It
could be worth
1 million
it.
new yen to admit that you're a kidnapper? I don't know, man. Can't spend that 1 million new yen when you're in jail.
Again, to show his humanitarian side. In the name of the misguided 6, I give 250,000 new yen to establish a fund to assist victims of magical crimes, as well as their families and loved ones.
Who were the misguided 6?
They are...
I couldn't remember if they were somebody that we had talked about or not, but that name doesn't seem familiar. Tyler, you got anything?
Not at all.
Okay. I also just like that, like, in a time of, like, very straightforward villainy names, being called the misguided 6. It's like, you know, they're not villains. They're just misguided. You know, they just.
So I believe they were a magical group.
Okay.
That may have committed some crimes that involved magic gone awry and had some bystander incidents.
Some casualties.
Or maimings.
I see.
I also thought this one was really funny. To any person who can prove he or she shook hands with John F. Kennedy, present yourself to the Draco Foundation at any time, and the Foundation will grant you one wish. He seemed like a nice guy.
What?
That's awesome. Oh, I love it. That's so good. He seemed like a nice guy.
Right?
Oh, man.
You guys might remember this name from our Sinless playthrough. To Sean Laverty. I leave my estate in Tirtongari. The garden there is quite beautiful, and I hope it will remain so.
Well, it's good, because he didn't get blown up in a hotel, so he can still enjoy it.
Right? You guys will appreciate this one. To Buttercup of Yamatetsu Corporation. I leave my complete collection of comic books with respect for our mutual appreciation of the art form. Not manga, I know, but you could stand to develop a taste for some of the classics.
Very sassy.
That's fantastic.
The extra hilarious part about that is Buttercup is actually a free spirit.
Oh, nice.
So there you go, a free spirit that appreciates manga.
That is my new second favorite character in Shadowrun.
Also apparently sits on the board for Yamatetsu.
Yeah, which is also kind of nuts, but okay. So, I feel like we have talked about this before. Free spirits are just the spirit in the astral with no physical form to it.
So, a brief description of free spirits, because this again is something we'll probably get into when we start diving into magic more heavily.
Right.
Free spirits are summoned spirits, right? That get more powerful. A lot of the way that they become free is that they're too powerful for the summoner to control. Another way it happens is the summoner is trying to create an ally spirit, and the summoner dies. And so then that spirit goes free.
Because there's nothing to actually bind it.
There's nothing to anchor it, but it's still powerful enough to stay manifested in the world.
Okay. So,
and the way they have to do that is they have to gather spirit energy, and there's multiple different ways that they can do this. But they can assume physical form.
Okay.
The free spirits, they can take physical form.
Are they able to be seen normally, or if they
in their physical form?
In their physical form. If they're not in physical form, then you can only perceive them in the astral.
Yes.
Okay.
Depending on where they were originally summoned from, too.
Okay.
Yeah. Free spirits and ally spirits get into a whole complicated thing, but if you're a shaman or a mage that has one, you can be very powerful.
I see.
If you have a free spirit.
They're extremely helpful, or can be.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, I that's what I had kind of figured. I hadn't remembered if we had ever fully gone into the
No, we haven't fully dived into,
okay.
But eventually we will.
Right, okay.
To Darius Vizemels, curator and scholar Zamus Caprahendis of the Crete Occult Museum, I leave steel box number 212, which contains the ancient bronze blade that I have dubbed the Spear of Destiny. Whether or not that name applies is for them to prove or disprove. Personally, I have never quite had the time to find out.
Nice.
Just casually, I might have the Spear of Destiny in a lockbox.
Yeah. If it is or isn't, whatever you guys can do with it, whatever.
To Damian Knight, who Damian Knight eventually becomes
Batman.
The head. Well, he becomes the head of Ares.
Oh, that's less exciting.
To Damian Knight, I leave my antique chess set except for the Black King piece. I hope you find another worthy opponents. It was only 60 seconds, old friend, but what a ride.
That's some shade right there. That's some dragon level shade right there.
Right. This next one is accompanying one of those pictures that I sent you.
Okay.
This one is to the first party to identify the victim in the accompanying photo and bring his 5 perpetrators to justice. I leave the access codes to my property in Paris. The Draco Foundation will release the codes upon receipt and verification of a complete account of the investigation, including the fate of the victim and the perpetrators. And the picture is 5 dudes in pointed hoods beating somebody up.
In black outfits, black outfitted pointed hoods.
Well, it's
black outfitted pointed
hoods.
hoods.
Say it's kind of dark in the picture. Everything's kind of black.
It's very dark in the picture, meaning it was probably taken at night.
Yeah. Huh.
And no one knows who the victim is?
No, you have to identify both the victim and the 5 people involved.
Huh.
Solve a murder.
Right, and then you get his access codes to his property in Paris.
Has that one ever been solved? Or is that one still
to my knowledge, no, it has not been solved.
Oh, that one is very interesting.
Here's another name you guys might remember that we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
To Aaron the Scribe, I leave my library of rare first editions, including my Shakespeare folios.
That's the NPC guy.
The NPC to end all NPCs.
Yes. This has been a 2-episode long journey now for people listening, but that's who I was talking about as NPC man.
To the first party to create a perpetual motion machine without the aid of magic, I leave the hitherto undiscovered notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
To Leonard Aurelius of Ares Macrotechnology, I leave the Black King of my antique chess set. May you prove a worthy opponent.
Oh, I love that.
It's all a setup.
guess what? He doesn't prove to be a worthy
Oh
opponent.
no.
Damian Knight 100% outmaneuvers him to take over Ares.
Oh, interesting. So it wasn't just a chess metaphor.
Yes. Kind of
Fascinating.
makes you wonder, how much did Dunkelzahn know about what was coming?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm disappointed now that I know. Because it feels like a lot of this is like, well, I don't have to worry about it because I know XYZ happened. But that's me. And also...
Well, in the trilogy book, the Dragonheart trilogy book, he actually does kind of lament and argue with himself over whether he should do the self-sacrifice or not. I think there's a whole section in one of the 3 books where he's sitting in the back of the limousine just rolling it over in his head.
Did they explain what the blob was?
That was part of the magical process of the self-sacrifice. He like sheds his body.
Oh, yikes.
Right? I thought you guys would appreciate this one because I definitely did. To the Tokyo Shoe nightclub in Seattle, I leave my complete first printing collection of Gojira and related films.
Ooh, nice.
Long may your club roar.
Let's go.
That's very good.
Hell yeah.
So now you guys know that in Seattle, where you're currently playing in Sinless, there's a place called the Tokyo Shoe nightclub that likes to show old Gojira movies.
Let me make a quick note of that on my character notes real quick. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, whoever wrote this, whatever team wrote this, like, excellent job, because there's so much character that's being portrayed in just a few lines.
Seriously.
That's very good.
This one was good. To the first party to develop an efficient and effective matrix connection for dolphins, elephants, and or satyrs and dragons, I leave the access codes to 4 Zurich orbital accounts and a personal visit from Lofweir.
And a personal visit from Lofweir? Like, he's just like,
Yes.
okay.
He's throwing Lofweir under the bus, being like, hey, if they do this, you got to go say hi.
That's fascinating.
Because Lofweir is fascinated with the Matrix.
Okay.
But there isn't a way for dragons to directly interact with it. Like, dragons can't get data jacks.
Okay. Not yet.
Because their physiology is so different.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. But to the first party to develop.
For elephants, dolphins, satyrs, and or dragons?
Yes.
Oh, so just any, or, yeah, okay, I see.
To the first party to determine what lies behind the door of room 5B78 of the Aztechnology Pyramid in Tenochtitlan and file a report of their findings on Shadowlands, I leave 5 million new yen or medical care for the remainder of their natural life, whichever seems most appropriate.
Ha!
Whoa.
Nice.
Makes you wonder what's on the other side of that door.
I love stuff like that.
And that one is left open to GMs to interpret. There isn't an official statement.
That's very cool.
That's solid.
So I've, of course, come up with some juicy ideas.
Nice. And it's in an Aztechnology pyramid.
Yep,
So it's very
in
secret.
Atzland,
In
in their
Atzland.
home capital. So you can only imagine how awful, terrible it is.
I just love the idea that the super dry, super generous dragon didn't want to admit that he was annoyed that there was something he didn't know. So he's just like, hey, I'm not gonna say I was annoyed that I never figured this out, but if anyone does, $5 million. 5 million yen. Yeah.
This next one goes with the other pictures I had sent to you. To the first party to determine what the accompanying photos of Mars taken by NASA just prior to the Ares macro technology buyout, who can prove their theory to the Draco Foundation. I leave 1% interest in Ares.
Oh, yeah.
So those pictures that I sent you were of the Martian landscape. And one of them has those 4 pyramids.
The other one has a flying saucer.
The other one has a old school like 80s flying saucer.
Love it.
Are those bones?
Yeah, and then the other one has bones, some kind of bones on the Martian surface.
And pyramids in the background.
Not far from those same pyramids.
Yeah.
Dude, what is up with the moon or Mars? I
Remember, Evo established a base.
Yep. We sent the ghouls to Mars.
So, what do you think they found up there?
More ghouls.
guess.
More ghouls. The ghosts of Mars is real.
The ghouls were already there.
Like I'd mentioned before the podcast, I've been listening to a lot of like 40K lore, and I just imagine that it's just an ancient species is locked away in the tombs. Ancient
Let's go the
evil.
Necrons route.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing like space skeleton terminators.
Hell yeah.
Yes, they will be back.
I have to let you know, tangent here, everybody, that the first release about the Necrons, like their first codex, was far more disturbing and awful than subsequent releases.
Yeah, it was. The original Necrons are like literal nightmare creatures. They make chaos gods feel tame. Like
exactly.
It was crazy. It was like
it was so wild.
It was like they've spent all of this time establishing that chaos and Tyranids are like the biggest threat in the universe, and then they bring in Necrons, and they were like, "Oh, Tyranids and chaos? That's all baby shit. Check these guys out. Necrons are fucking terrifying."
That's baby fun time frolics.
Yep.
Meet your immortal doom.
Yeah.
It was far worse, and then they dumbed them down and basically made them Tomb Kings in space.
Yeah, which fair, but like original Necrons were
way worse.
Oh man,
way
the
worse.
original iteration of is it Tanzian, right? The Collector.
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
he was like, I just like to take body pieces and establish my own organisms out of them. What's wrong with that? Everybody needs a hobby.
He's still one of my favorite characters.
He's so good
in the whole lore.
He's so good.
Anyway, back to Shadowrun. To the first party to spend 24 hours in Galmus Castle during a full moon.
Ooh.
I leave the castle, its furnishings, and the grounds historically associated with it. Quote, good things of the day begin to droop and drowse while night's black agents to their praise do rouse.
Yeah, do you also get the werewolves that come with the castle?
Or the
I'm
demons
assuming
or the
you have to
ghosts?
survive the werewolves to get the castle.
That's kind of fucked.
He said you had to spend 24
I
hours
love
during a full
He
moon.
wrote a spooky limerick
Yeah.
for this
Yeah.
castle.
Exactly.
Does he say survive or spend?
He says
Spend.
spend 24 hours.
And then does he say if you survive or not? Or like I'm just trying to figure out if he's like sending people to their death.
you have to spend 24 hours during a full moon, and he will leave the castle, its furnishings, and the grounds historically associated with it. So you have to make it a full 24 hours.
Okay, without leaving too, I imagine.
Yeah, without running for your life.
Dude, one thing that I'm loving about this is that there's so many questions that they don't actually answer about what the hell this is.
Right?
It's so good.
The will is a great source for GMs to just pull some stuff together and be like, oh.
Like even for my
yeah.
D&D game, I'm like, I want to steal some of this. Like,
Hey, yeah, go for it.
very cool.
Bring the lore back.
Connect the worlds.
If the owners of the bas relief sculptures commonly known as pre-Bronze Age cave reliefs 1 through 12 will bring these pieces to the Museum of Modern Art, the current assistant curator of the sculpture collection will prove that these 12 pieces can be assembled into a single work. In return, the owners will receive an equal share of all proceeds from the sale of my first and only attempt at freeform sculpture.
That's fantastic.
Again, that kind of gives away almost how old he is. He's like, this is pre-Bronze Age, and I tried to make a sculpture and smashed it because I didn't like it.
Also, yeah, I love that. as much as a do-getter as Dunkelzahn is, he also is like he's egotistical to an extent.
yes,
Yeah.
as a dragon, of course, he's
Yeah.
going to be egotistical. This one's fantastic and would probably encompass an entire series for Shadowrun.
Wow. Okay.
Like to play in. To the first party to find my lair in the Caucasus Mountains. I leave its contents, including clues to the location of 2 other layers. In the third layer, you will find a plain brown scroll case. Return the case to the Draco Foundation unopened, and you will receive my lucky rabbit's foot. May it bring you all the good fortune it brought me.
So even he was superstitious. I love that. Or is he?
To the first company to create edible synthetic flesh for ghouls, I leave 2 million new yen with which to develop a complete and diverse product line.
That is my character's new goal.
Create synthetic flesh for ghouls.
Ghouls are people too, alright? Tired of all the ghoul slander that I see with Shadowrun community. Ghouls are just humans with dietary restrictions, okay?
Those are some heavy dietary restrictions, my friend.
Yeah,
Very
but
strict.
I stand by my statement.
Fair. To the first party to determine what lies behind the door of room 1835 in the Renraku Arcology in Seattle and report their findings to the Draco Foundation, I leave 5 million new yen.
Another.
Is that another ambiguously unidentified door? Or does that one actually have...
That one may actually have an answer for the run that was for the complete run that was released. I will have to get my hands on that run to be able to confirm for you, and I'm in the process of doing that.
Okay.
So once I know, I will confirm it for you.
Okay, sweet.
To Robert Page, I leave my copy of an ancient text that proves elves are not the only race to possess a unique language. Take pride in your heritage and continue to promote the rights of your people. For the orcs have always fought to rise above the position in which others would keep them. May this document aid your struggles up from below.
Dunkelzahn's a cool guy.
So yeah, the orcs had their own language, and he happens to have a book all about it.
And I love that it's like disputed whether or not they have their own language.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
To the first party to discover what lies behind the door of room 429 of the Saderkrupp offices in Berlin and report their findings to Lofweir, I leave the arrow of red dragon slaying.
Oh.
Wait, is Lofweir a red dragon?
No,
Lofweir's
he's
a
the
gold
gold
dragon.
The
Has to be.
no, it's one of the Eastern dragons because the
Fierschwing.
because of the red dragon triad.
Fierschwing is a red dragon, and remember, Lung is also
Lung.
a red dragon.
That's what I was trying to think of. Lung, because Lung was the one you said is associated to the triad, right?
And Fierschwing is
Allegedly.
like a German dragon.
Yes, Fierschwing was the
Wait, so it's
one
the
that was going crazy.
Saderkrupp office,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
Lofweir
owned by Lofweir.
doesn't know what's in it.
Well, no. The joke
Oh,
is
to break
that
in
it's
there.
his office. Break in and tell him what you found.
Oh, I love that. That's subtle.
But this next one kind of shows that Dunkelzahn can also hold a grudge. For a period of 10 days beginning on the 14th of February 2057, Lars J. Matthews will cease to possess any legal status. He will be stripped of all evidence of legal existence, including sin, cred sticks, dock wagon contract, bank accounts, and so on. To the individual or group who ends Lars J. Matthews' physical existence during those 10 days, I leave all of Matthews' assets and 1 million new yen for a job well done. If Mr. Matthews survives and can prove his identity, his legal status and all possessions will be restored to him. Haven't you heard? Never deal with a dragon, Lars.
That's pretty good.
That one seemed a little vindictive, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure at the time he
He-
told him that he's gonna have to pay for the deal at some point, and if he didn't ask what it was, that's Lars's fault.
It was probably like Lars like tricked him or something.
Yeah, I was thinking like a double cross or went
Yeah.
back on a job or something.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, and just the fact that he's essentially putting a hit out on this guy for 10 days.
Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, it's not all
Uh,
roses.
Back to some funny ones. To the owner of the sky blue Chrysler Nissan Jackrabbit that was crushed by a falling chunk of plasticrete on October 26, 2045, I leave my 1964.5 candy apple red Ford Mustang convertible. Sorry for the inconvenience. I had an itch that I couldn't reach and caught the corner of the building with my claw.
That's good. That's one of the least fancy ones. Like, you know, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but
Yeah, sorry about that. I crushed your car. Here's this other one.
and it's like he couldn't admit it until he died because he's just so
Yeah,
shy about it.
He didn't want to be sued.
Either that or well, because like, what would he care about being sued, really? But I just
Well, technically, he's a citizen, so
no, that's fair.
could levy accusations against a
No,
dragon for damages.
No,
and
I
stuff.
see that. It's just like the guy is ready to hand out at least 12 million new yen. Like, guy's got money. My point is, like, I just like the idea that he could have confronted this person about it, but it's really embarrassing that this noble dragon broke someone's car because
Had
it
an
was itchy.
itch.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I guess
Like
I could see that.
it's like dragons sneezing is not a thing they talk about because it betrays their elegant demeanor, you know?
Of course. To the patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church, I leave the gold filigree and enamel box containing Rasputin's heart.
Oh, okay.
What a weird thing to have in your possession, right?
I mean, but why not have it? If that's one of those things where it's like, that's just cool to have.
And it feeds into the history of Rasputin.
Exactly. And also the history of how long Dunkelzahn has been around.
Also true.
Also true.
Austin, you'll like this one for the sheer fact that Kaze also enjoys swords. To Toshiro Mitsuhama of Mitsuhama Computer Technologies, I leave an ancestral katana forged by the master swordsmith Masamune.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
May its quality remind you of the value of art and beauty, coupled with the qualities of honor, courage, and loyalty.
That's sick.
Love that.
Oh, good old Masamune, always there
Right?
for a good blade. That's dope. That's really cool.
This one was one of my favorites. To Art Dankwalther, I leave the sum of 34,586,224,739 and 58 cents in UCOS dollars.
Full stop.
According to my calculations and accounting for conversion of the original currency, inflation, and 1% interest per annum, this settles my debt to your ancestor for the gold piece he kindly lent me for the last meal we shared.
Holy crap. That is so cool.
Also,
Like, I promised your ancestor I'd pay him back, and I finally tracked you down. Sorry I've been asleep for so long.
what was the conversion rate with the UCOS dollar to new yen? Because isn't the UCOS dollar, it's different from the new yen, right?
Yes. I think it is every 4
UCOS is one
dollars
yen.
is one new yen.
Okay. So we
This
still
would-
left him a pretty good chunk of change, but considerably less when you take into account the fact that it's a 4-to-1.
That being said, it's still $1 billion.
Oh yeah,
No.
Yes,
oh,
it started with 34 billion.
yeah, no, 100%. I just think that it's funny that it's specifically in UCOS dollars.
UCOS. Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah, here you go. 4 UCOS dollars is the equivalent of 1 new yen.
Okay, cool.
So that's the official conversion. I mean, that still leaves him with billions of dollars in new yen.
Right.
Or billions of new yen.
Yeah.
And finally, one of the last ones that I picked out for the will, and those are just ones that I picked out that I thought were hilarious. Actually, hang on. There's one more I'll add right now that you horror fans will appreciate. To Kara Lazier, I leave 160,000 new yen and the deed to 1428 Elm Street, Phoenix, Pueblo Corporate Council.
Very nice.
He leaves the deed to Elm Street, the house on Elm Street. I thought you guys would appreciate that. I mean, even though in the movies, I think the Elm Street is in Ohio.
Yeah, it is.
This was still a nod to that, placing it now in Phoenix.
That's dope.
I thought that was interesting.
To be fair, when they say Phoenix, are they talking about Arizona?
Yes, but remember, it's no longer Arizona.
Right.
It is now the Pueblo Corporate Council.
Yeah, we do have an Elm Street in Phoenix.
Oh, do you?
There is an actual Elm Street. There's actually
nice.
2 Elm Streets in Arizona within the Valley area. But yeah. Oh, we've got Elm Streets.
Hilarious. And the final one that I have for the will, and like I said, there's plenty of others if you guys would ever be interested to go and look some up. There's lots of bequeathments to specific people, and lots of giving away of like millions of new yen. It makes you wonder, yeah, he is a dragon, but how deep were his pockets?
The deepest, I imagine.
Apparently. This last one goes out. To the last knight of the Crying Spire, I leave the suit of armor worn by Richard the Lionheart on his crusade, because it's up to you to lead the next one. I also leave you the sword Excalibur. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find it at the moment. To whomever finds Excalibur, deliver it to the Draco Foundation for a reward and title. The Draco Foundation will promptly turn the sword over to you, my knight.
Oh my god.
And I can tell you who the Knight of the Crying Spire is, too.
Who is that?
He is another super NPC in the Shadowrun world, known as the Harlequin.
Oh,
okay.
Snap.
Very nice.
And yeah, you guys will have to remember that name, because maybe he'll start making an appearance sometime in our games.
Now, I do have one slight question there.
Absolutely, ask away.
Was he trying to encourage this guy to start a new crusade?
Yeah, that was a little alarming.
Because maybe he did swear on the Bible when he was inaugurated as president.
Well, so here's the way to take
Okay.
it. People have always speculated that Richard the Lionhearted was related to the old myth of King Arthur and the Round Table.
Correct, yes.
And he hammers that home a little bit more with the sword Excalibur.
Right.
So remember, King Arthur's court was tasked with defending the land, right?
Okay.
So the next crusade would be to defend the world.
Okay.
Hey,
So he's
not that
bequeathing.
crusade.
Yes, he's bequeathing the armor and the sword Excalibur for the last knight to
The crusade of
shoulder the next crusade against the oncoming
darkness.
terribleness.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
The crusade of righteousness, not the crusade of religious control.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That
Correct.
makes way more sense, and
is very
I am
cool.
down with it again. And right back in it.
I was hesitant at first. Now I'm right back.
I had a moment. Still don't think Dunkelzahn swore on a Bible. Still want to know the answer to that question.
I feel like he did, if for nothing else than the tradition, but that's
Yeah, I could see him doing it for the tradition.
not that he cares. Like I'm
that would be the only
sure
thing.
that he knows everything there is about like what's in this life and then thereafter. Like
Dunkelzahn was probably there when they were writing the Bible, man. He probably
Right,
threw in a
right.
couple of those stories. He's like, "Yo, put this one in. This will really freak him out."
I mean, think about it. He gifted that box that had the possible spear of destiny in it.
Yeah. And cave drawings as well. Like talking about those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cave drawings. That is also true.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it, and this just further solidifies that Dunkelzahn is the best character in Shadowrun, and that will never change.
I do have one bonus one I can read if you're interested.
Bonus round.
Always interested.
Bonus. So this one actually goes in 3 parts, and they're all connected.
Okay.
To George Locomotive Fenimore. Wherever he is at present, I sadly bequeath the locked steel box number 412 from my private vault at the Manhattan Citibank Depository. The box is not to be opened until he deems it absolutely necessary, or until my comrade manages to successfully, quote, survive another double Tuesday. I pray the darkness ends for you someday.
That's
The immediate next one that is connected to this is, to the executor of my will, Nadia Devere, I grant full disposition of the other 15 boxes marked for George Fenimore or his descendants, should any of them ever ask. If not, upon your own demise, they are to be summarily destroyed, unopened, in all capital letters, in the main microwave blast furnace of Bethlehem Steel in Pennsylvania.
Oh my god.
It's a box specifically for this one person or their descendants. And
Well,
It's a series.
He bequeathed the one,
Yeah.
and then there's 15 more.
right. But I'm just saying, like, this initial box is meant for this one person to open when they think it's appropriate.
Yes.
Yes.
Fascinating.
And then the additional 15 boxes are left to the head of
The descendants, or to, they're left to Nadia,
Yeah.
and then she can give them to descendants if they want, or upon her own death, they have to be destroyed.
Oh my god.
And then to Bethlehem Steel, I leave 2 million new yen for the purposes of immediate destruction of 15 steel boxes unopened when and if they are delivered to the main furnace crew boss, and the additional amount of 500,000 new yen to the crew boss as danger money to be distributed to his crew in the event of injuries resulting from this task.
Dude.
Like if people try to assault the place to steal the boxes to find out.
Or they open the
or
boxes.
they open the boxes,
shit.
or trying to destroy them causes harm.
In some
That's
way.
so
Yeah.
well written. It's so well written to be like, what could be in the boxes, you know?
Exactly.
That's so good.
That's very good.
Yeah, this
That's
just
very
reminds
good.
me of like that one show where there was a hotel room full of like weird altered objects, like a bus ticket that could take you anywhere in the world. Like it's like SCP stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean, God, what was that? It's like Warehouse something?
It was
Oh,
like
Warehouse 13?
No, that was another one.
Yeah.
But there was a show that was about like this guy whose daughter disappears in this hotel room that only appears like with a certain key. I'm gonna have to look it up. You know, people will know what I'm talking about. But anyway,
There was a horror movie that was like that.
that also makes sense. My point is that there's like a lot of mystery in a lot of the stuff that's written here, which is really, really interesting.
Dunkelzahn's will feels like it's an episode of Welcome to Night Vale.
Oh, dude, for sure. The dragon Dunkelzahn has bequeathed 1 iron box. Yeah.
Yeah.
For one other bonus one, the very last one. To Alicia, I leave the ever-living flower. I have no more use for it.
The one that was part of that whole like exchange with the tier
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for the heart.
Mm-hmm.
for the crystal rose.
Crystal
thing.
Rose? Yeah.
Yep.
Are they the
crystal
same
rose.
thing?
Mhm.
Are they different items?
No, they're two different
Two
items.
different items for, and it said just as Alicia. Doesn't say which one. I'm assuming she would know. Obviously, I have no use for it.
Yeah, she has kind of a dark history.
Oh, so she's like a known character.
She is a known character,
Okay.
yes.
Interesting.
She is an immortal elf
Oh. Okay.
who lived from the Earth Dawn age.
Oh.
And now she has an immortal flower.
Well, it was around before because the immortal flower is what the elves would prick their finger upon to gain their immortality.
Oh,
Ah. Okay.
He doesn't need it anymore, so like that was keeping him alive, I'm imagining.
Possibly.
Interesting.
Fascinating.
But he bequeathed it back to her.
Huh.
What a guy. What a character. What a card.
Yeah. And that's Dunkelzahn's story and his will.
I gotta say, the will definitely delivered.
It's very fucking cool.
It's very
Right?
cool.
And those were just some snippets that I picked out that I thought were really cool.
I like the concept of the will as being something that is just strictly put out for DMs to use as plot devices as they want to for their own campaigns, and like the ambiguity that goes with it is very cool. It's a very very cool way to do that.
So this is also kind of next level. In one of the entries in the will, it talks about finding these missing bones for a dragon skeleton.
Okay.
And they actually give real longitude and latitudes.
Oh shit. Okay.
So you can plug these in, and it'll show you exactly where it is on Earth.
Has anybody gone out and looked for the dragon skeleton?
I don't know if that one's been completed from the will or not.
No, but I mean like in real life. Like has anybody gone out?
I have no idea.
It sounds like a Patreon incentive is what it sounds like to me.
Well, I can give you the longitude and latitude if you really want them.
We'll go out on behalf of Critical Hits. Let's go. I'm looking for dragons.
Road trip dragon bones, are they here? Talk about like a geocache Easter egg that may have still been around to this day.
That would be amazing.
Because when was this published? Well, that's copyright of Fastfoot Corporation. That was in 96. I guess 96. I don't see another copyright on here or a list.
So if anyone at home happens to stumble upon those coordinates, let us know what you found. What's it like owning a dragon skull?
I mean, you want a real blast from the past here at the bottom, just after the published by Fastfoot Corporation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says Fastfoot Corporation can be reached on America Online email.
Hell yeah. Does it also have... Do they also have a fax number and a pager extension?
No, they don't have a fax number or pager extension.
Dang.
But they listed their AOL email.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So, just to really punch home how old Shadowrun is.
Woo!
It wears it on its sleeve, and it's beautiful.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you for the Will of Dunkelzahn. That was a very enjoyable trip.
You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed this trip. It's been a wild one going down this rabbit hole for this dragon.
Oh, dude, for real. And the rabbit hole keeps on a-going.
It does. It does keep on a-going. And to get more of that rabbit hole, you guys are just going to have to stay tuned.
Well done.
The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sound, audio, video, and or any proprietary materials used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. has granted permission to Critical Hits to use such names, logos, artwork, photographs, sound, audio, video, and or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Critical Hits in any official capacity whatsoever.